Okay, so it's 3 past 5 p.m. here, so I guess we can start, and the others will join. Welcome everyone for the second SogetiLabs webinar. I hope you were there, and if not, welcome for the first edition that was a month ago, where Menno presented something about the Internet of Things, and then Eric, you made a speech about the Technology Outlook 2014. So I hope everything goes well on that side. I just want to remind you that if you are not there, you can still watch it. As will be this one. I saw that 37 people watched the first edition of the webinar, so that's quite good. So let's aim at even more this time. Why do we do this webinar? For two reasons, I think, and Eric, I think you will agree with me, because first of all, we feel like as a community of experts, it's important that you share your expertise among yourselves. And the other reason is also to build a community so that you feel all connected to one another and that you feel like you belong to this community. And this community is about knowledge, of course, that's what you're sharing with your presentations, and it's a community of actions. That's what we did last time as well, with Eric kicking off a new project, and now we're all working together to make it happen. So these are the two main goals of these webinars and the community as a whole. So what are we going to talk about today? Today you have the slide with the agenda. We will start as last time with a general discussion. It will be led by Ben Visser, that you can see. Hello, Ben. Ben will talk about the impact of cloud on testing. So that's a big topic, and he needs your feedback. He has a big project going on, so we expect you to participate in the discussion that will happen right after his presentation. Then we will have a second part, which is a SogetiLabs discussion, more focused on what we do on a daily, day-to-day basis. And this is Dag that just appeared. Hello, Dag. That will lead. That will first present his innovation challenge that he will that he has for you, and then we will have some Q&A to know a little bit more what it is about and how you can participate. Then at the end, we can conclude, have some other questions or remarks if you have any about SogetiLabs and how we work. So let's not waste more time, and let's give you the floor, Ben, with the impact of cloud on testing.
Okay, thank you. I'll share the presentation. That's this one. So I hope you can all see it. Oh, it's going a little bit fast. Well, this is just the slide. When Charlie first asked me to host this part of the session, I originally thought I would talk about model-based testing, because that's for 2-3 years now on and off my main concern within Sogeti. But 2 weeks ago, I got the request from our management to try and well, how must I say that, to give the vision of Sogeti on cloud and testing. And so I've been doing this now for 1.5, 2 weeks, gathering information, talking to people. So I'm sharing a little bit what's the thoughts in the Netherlands at the moment of cloud and testing. But there's not, it didn't get together into a one coherent story. So what I'm about to do is I'll talk to you a little bit about cloud and testing. And in general, there are 5 things I think that are worth thinking. That's the cloud itself. What is the cloud and what's the cloud not? And there are 4 things, and those are the 4 diamonds you see: the migration to the cloud, testing cloud-enabled applications, SaaS, software testing as a service. That's one of the things that we developed a couple of years ago also, and test enabled by the cloud. It's really a high-level story so far. It's meant to be told in 5 to 15 minutes maximum. So what I would like to do is to bear with me and let me tell you the story in 5 to 10 minutes. It will be the first time that I'll tell the story as a whole, because I've discussed it a lot with people, and I've practiced obviously a little bit for myself now. But it will be the first time that I really tell the story. And there are a lot of questions there still, things that I'm not sure of that I'll pose as a truth, or I'll pose as something that's the way we do about it. But when you start discussing and talking about it, then you'll see that there is still a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room for change. So what I'd like to do now is just to go through the presentation. As I understood from Charlie, it was the idea that I wouldn't have a presentation of more than 15 minutes. So I think I'll make that within this time span, and then we'll have the discussion. And I just as much would like you to add things and say, okay, think of this, think of that, as much as try and challenge me of what do you exactly mean with this, what do you exactly mean with that, because at the moment I'm still in the situation that I'm saying a lot, and that not everything is really quite as obvious as perhaps it should be, and it will be. So what I'd like to do, when you see at these four, first of all, the impact on testing, what's really the influence of testing, of cloud on testing, and then we'll have to take a little bit a step back, because cloud isn't something that just happens. There are a lot of business drivers that come together and facilitate or really push us to cloud. As a main driver, I think what we see in the industry is continuous delivery in all its forms and shapes. And what we're really going for is multiple deployments per day. Well, I don't think in a lot of industries at the moment we have a deployment a week or even a month. So this is really the vision, but I think all the forces drive us to make this happen sooner or later. And I think cloud is one of the things that make that happen, but also when you look at the way agile as a way of working, that's also a powerful driver towards this continuous delivery. And I think a lot of the things we're doing at the moment both have this basis in either the promise of agile or the promise of cloud. And when you look at testing, then there's a shift in test focus. Usually we're really focused very much on functionality and non-functionals like performance and security and a lot of other things. From the testing community, we're mostly not focusing on them. And I think there's this shift going. So that's really, non-functionals are getting more and more important, and we need to find ways to test them, to make sure that it's not forgotten. And test automation, as a matter of course, is coming really close. Traditionally, testing is rather manual. A lot of people still believe that true testing is the things that you do manually. And I think when you look at the way we're doing things in sprints of a couple of weeks, then you can't just keep on doing things manually. So automation is really an important thing to consider within testing, and that's where you see that perhaps the push, the drive comes from agile, but the promise and things cloud make possible. That's really two parts of the same thing here, and something well, rather organizational. Really, the tester as a separate function or a test team separate from everything else, I think it's vanishing. It's not really anymore. I do think that when you look at 5 to 10 years in the future, there will be dedicated testers. There will be manual testing. There will be really focused functional tests still, but that won't be the big part of what we're earning money with as Sogeti, or what the industry is focusing on. So I think these are a little bit the drivers and the tendencies we see when you look at cloud and for testing. And when you look then at what we're doing, I think there are four areas that we make money in. That's migration to the cloud. That's testing the cloud-enabled applications. Well, stars, as I mentioned, and it's enabled by the cloud test environment as a service, workspace from the cloud, all those kind of things. I'll go through them quickly. First, moving into the cloud or migrating to the cloud. What you see here is that traditionally testing is a risk-based thing we're doing, and we have this product risk analysis, as we call it. And I think when you started looking what are the business risks related to a cloud solution or a cloud strategy, then there are some things that are really specific for cloud. We have a couple of big projects here, and in which we really implement cloud solutions. And we're not there yet that we can say, okay, these are the 5 to 10 things that always come back and that is always important in a cloud risk analysis. But we can see some things there. From this risk analysis, we've got a dedicated cloud test strategy. And what you see beneath the table is the system test and installation test, authorization test. What we do with the test strategy is that we say, there's not enough time, money, or resources to test everything as much as you can. So you really have to make choices. And what you see in the test strategy is we say, okay, that's where we make these choices tangible. So we say, these are the test types we're doing, and these are the way in which we're doing it. And one of the major things in a test strategy is also that you can have the choice of testing something or testing it not, but also when you decide to test things, to have it a light test or a heavy test or what have you. When it comes to functional testing, I can give you really a couple of ways that we go about doing this, and with coverage types and all kinds of things, and it's really quite very well documented how we can do this. When you look at the possible test types we have for moving into the cloud, when you look at I've stated a number of installation tests, and alerts test, the penetration test. We've got them all described somewhere else. A couple of people that are really doing these, they just get to the point that they say, okay, we do this test or we don't do this test. So we really have some steps to go there to really make it risk-based. When you look at, for instance, the backup restore strategy, there's different backup restore strategies, with partial backup and a full backup, and that should be reflected in the way you're testing it, in how important things are. So that's really moving into the cloud. Companies going from their own data center into a cloud or into a data center, and that's, I think, in the short run, for the next couple of years, we will make this will be the main part where we'll be making money as such. There's a lot of companies are making this move, and they really don't know what to do, what to pay attention to, where to focus. And I think there we can do some things. The next one is test the cloud-enabled applications. And when we discuss cloud, we recognize 3 flavors: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And when you look at these 3 possible cloud solutions, 2 out of 3 aren't that exciting at the moment. When you look at infrastructure as a service, a couple of people say, well, that's just more of the same of what we're doing always. It's when you have your infrastructure on-premise, or whether it's as a service, testing of the applications, testing of the usability of things, testing of how you do things, that's rather more of the same. Obviously, testing the infrastructure itself, there are some changes, but when you look at the testing community in the Netherlands, and that's one of the questions I have, we don't have the technical skills or the technical knowledge to really play a part in infrastructure testing. So from my point of view, but that's really from a application development, application testing point of view, infrastructure as a service doesn't really provide that much new chances or new things to do. More or less the same is applicable for software as a service. We're traditionally very strong in testing the functionality of systems, but when you're talking about SaaS, it's really, well, take it or leave it. So what we're also doing in testing mainly is user acceptance testing, end-to-end testing, so that you can see and that you can verify that the solution that's from the cloud, or that you're just buying it off the shelf, it fits in the way you're doing your work and your business and all those kind of things. But testing the software itself, obviously, the company that's developing these services, they still need to test a lot. But the majority of our clients here, especially here in the Netherlands, we don't work for the providers of this SaaS. We work for the companies that use SaaS solutions, and then so there's a rather testing approach that's really similar to what we're doing already. So the main difference lies in PaaS, platform as a service, and I'm not quite sure at the moment what the differences are and how we can do that. I'm not quite sure how much technical knowledge we need to have to test those things. And the examples I gathered of why this is really the big changer, I'm not quite sure. One of the is that when you have a Visual Basic 6 application and load balancing, they don't go together. Well, I'm not so sure that there are that much VB6 applications at the moment. So is that a good example? I don't think so. But I think that's where one of the chances are for us to distinguish ourselves, to make sure that we do have a vision on how to test things that are developed within a customer base that's using a platform as a service. The third triangle I showed you before is what we call software testing as a service. Then you've got this, you're testing something at the client side, but you're testing it from the cloud, from our own cloud. So what we can do at the moment is performance testing. If a client wants us to test, to verify that his website or whatever you can stand a load of 100,000 customers, we can do that with the tooling we've got. And the main advantage for the customer itself is that they don't need to invest in the tools or whatever it's just they take the service from us and we've got this service, the tools to do this. Another example of software testing as a service is what we, in the Netherlands, we have got, it's developed in Cover. That's our model-based testing suite. And what we're doing at the moment, for instance, is that you just deliver a model, you deliver a flow diagram or a process or of an algorithm or what have you, and you just get delivered back the test cases that are generated from that model. And obviously, it's much easier to maintain one model instead of 100 generated test cases. So, and this is really something that we've been quite successful in over the last couple of years with a couple of customers. What we're not really doing at the moment, but what we're trying to get there is some kind of automated regression test, also from the cloud, combined with model-based testing. It's a little bit too deep for this presentation to discuss it. And these are the 2 or 3 examples at the moment in the Netherlands we have when it comes to SaaS, to software testing as a service. I think at the moment it's not that big here, but I think it's one of the areas we need to distinguish ourselves in and really make sure that we can do this and can do it in a lot of different shapes and forms and do a lot more than just these 2 or 3 things, to make sure that we'll be still one of the main companies in testing. And the fourth, it's what's called test support by the cloud, or test enablement, enabling the test by the cloud. And I'm not quite sure about this one. We've got a workspace from the cloud Earlier today I've discussed it with Clemens Reijnen. He's with Azure and Team Foundation Server, what Microsoft has, and it's really exciting what you can do with all those kind of with Microsoft tooling. And a workspace just generated. You've got a new team member. It's just one push of a button, and you've got all your things in a virtual environment. So you can work, and that's for the developers, but it's also possible for testers, obviously. When you start thinking about using those kind of workspace to test things at the client side in the environment of the client, then you can come across some security issues. Can you get to the network of the client, or is that prohibited or something like that? So that's why I've put these question marks there. But it's one of the things that really needs that's really promising. The other thing, test environment as a service. I think we need to distinguish two situations here. And the first one is that when we've got this situation where a company has applications from the cloud, software as a service, all those kind of things, and they're developed within, for instance, this Azure environment, then a test environment as a service is really a no-brainer. That's something you need to do, you need to have. And it's within the scope of what you're doing and what you're developing. It's really one of the things that makes the software development lifecycle or the application lifecycle management possible and really viable to make things quicker and do things in a better way. If you don't have those way of working, if you don't have the Azure background, if you don't have, or IBM will also have something like that. HP has a couple of nice tools. But let's say we've got a couple of big banking organizations, and they really have a lot of trouble with test environments, connections between all their applications, test data management, privacy issues, and all those kind of things. When you look at those clients, and I've met some of them that really have high expectations of test environment as a service, because then everything will be push of a button and there will be no problems anymore. I'd say let's wait and let's not do that, because when it's really difficult to do it what they're doing at the moment, I don't think we'll be able to just replace it with a cloud environment, cloud solution, and then make sure that everything that's going wrong at the moment isn't an issue anymore. So I think I've still got one last cloud essentials. That's really because we've written a book a couple of years. That's really the last part of this presentation, of this story. It's Team App Testing Clouds. It's, I think, 3 years old. So you could say it's an ancient book. I think there's still a lot of value in it. And it says, well, there are a couple of cloud characteristics, and I really would like to know if those are really still the cloud characteristics, or did we move on from 3 years ago, and are there really different things that we need to pay attention to? Okay, this is the story. I'd like some reactions, questions, additions. Please challenge me, help me.
I've seen a very interesting thing here that we seem to, that maybe some important feedback for you is, as soon as we put testing on the calendar, all the people that dial in are testers. Well, not all of them, but most of them. So how do we reach a different audience? How do you make your testing story relevant for developers, architects, visionaries, innovations, all sorts of other groups in both our own company, but also in customers? Mm-hmm. It does seem that the testing community is very engaged with itself, has lots of interactions with itself, and I think there's a lot to be had by reaching out, by being a red monkey, says Daniel in private to the presenters. So we should become different, stand out more, maybe engage people more. So other questions, people, feel free to comment either in the comment box or unmute yourself and speak up here. You don't need to necessarily put on your camera if you're still in your underwear or still have a sandwich, holding a sandwich and eating at the same time. But other comments or questions for Ben here, things that were unclear, that didn't make sense to you, things that you think that Ben should address that he has not addressed. A resounding silence. I've heard once in a workshop in Gouvieux that some people need 30 seconds to think before they can ask something. So I thought I'd just keep talking a little bit so these people have time to come up with their question. But I had one thing here, or I have a couple of things, of course. One is with cloud, both with cloud and agile, it seems that for the end users, functional testing, it becomes totally irrelevant. Because with agile, they say, well, the process ensures I get what I want. Every iteration, I can just tell them, well, that didn't work or that needs to be improved. And it's very hands-on. So testing becomes either invisible or they don't care about it. And cloud, the big thing with cloud is that it happens almost without the IT department involved. So functional testing there is minimal. It's what you already mentioned is people don't do functional testing on cloud. It's take it or leave it. If you want to use Salesforce or Office 365, you're not going to test that. You're just going to click a button and use it. On the other hand, the company still has responsibilities that are much more non-functional about security, integrity, availability, the reliability of the overall business process, the traceability of exceptions, all sorts of things. Who owns that, and how do you sell it to them? What type of conversation should we have there with what kind of people? Who should we sell testing to?
Well, I think I'm at the moment involved in a migration of a medium-sized a company to, and that's not really a cloud, but they're outsourcing their data center, and they're not fully going into all the advantages of cloud. They just want to have things outsourced, and it's one of the things that really strikes me and a little bit bothers me is that when I start talking as a tester to the techies, we just don't understand each other because they all say, well, it's just a technical change and nothing really changes on the outside, so why bother at all testing? And then they can have some examples of changing some technical stuff without anything going wrong or whatever. And at the same time, I know that when I'm talking to our business or to the functional people, to what have you, they just get scared when they know that a lot of the technical things are changed. So what I'm really thinking is that we should narrow the gap, and I really, your observation of this is a little bit of an internal testing presentation. It's really, it really strikes a point because I really have a difficulty in getting involved with the testers, the people that make the cloud happen, because at some point it's going too deep for me. There's too much technical detail and I can't understand it anymore. And then I know that there needs to be a lot of testing. As I mentioned before, or as I showed here, is it this one? In one of the big cloud projects we're doing at the moment, there's this approach, and it says, okay, we've got 17 different things, different types that we can test, because there are 17 things, 17 issues that might go wrong, and we really need to know when we've moved into the cloud, are these things okay? And it's, as a tester, and especially as an end user, we know these things are important, but we don't know enough of them to really think how and what to test. And the issue here is that when we start talking to people that really know what's going on and that really know what can go wrong, they have an infinite confidence in in their people, in the technicians that really do it, that even if something goes wrong, they'll be able to fix it on the fly. And I think that's really where these two worlds of, from the one hand, you've got this technical idea, technical insight of people, and they are really confident that they can do things and they can fix things. And on the other side, we've got these end users, maintaining things, people, all those kind of things. And they're really interested in just having a solution that works. And
I think so basically what you're saying is that the technology field has become more complex because now we have virtualized a lot of things that assume a lot of things, and things are automated that we may not always have insight into. Yeah. I do hear an interesting thing that where you, in your presentation, you talk about the installation test or the authorization test or a functional test or the cloud test or all sorts of things. I think it would be very good if we could simplify things, because you almost scare me. You say, well, there's this and there's that. It's like I call a plumber, and the first thing he does, he opens his toolbox and says, look, I have this little gadget for tapping wires. I have this little gadget to drill holes. I have this little gadget to make sure it sticks. I have this little gadget to make sure things are horizontal. I'm lost. I don't care about his tools. I care about what he can do. Can he fix the tap, and can he fix the shower? So maybe we should refocus on what does testing really deliver in a cloud era? What are the specific, I don't know, risk or worries or uncertainties in cloud, and how, and what are the 3 or 5 big things that we can deliver on testing? And then sure, we have also. Whole software testing at server. Oh, good, I hear myself. Software testing as a service is yes, you're using cloud as a tool, but it's totally irrelevant for the customer. You simply do performance testing, and for the client, it doesn't really matter if you hire 1 million monkeys or if you do it in the cloud. It's about what you deliver. So I see you have success with it because you can now deliver new capabilities, but I would pull it out of the cloud discussion, because it's, yes, we use cloud as a tool for testing, but that's, you shouldn't, as a customer, you shouldn't worry about that. You can simply do this. If you really want to know how we do things, sure, we can take the hood off and we can show you around how it really works. But I don't know, I wouldn't focus on that. I wouldn't push it to the forefront of your conversation.
Okay. At the same time, I think when you, well, let's take an example that I had about a week ago. It was about backup and restore, and the provider of the new data center, they had a different mechanism of backup and restore than the client has at the moment. So that's for the end user, that's really not important. They just want to have a backup restore and all those kind of things. But what I think where the added value of testers come in this space is that the ease, the technical people say, oh, it's a different way of performing backup and restore, but well, we can do this, we can do that, okay. And then they just don't, and I'm generalizing here, but they seem to have no idea of that is there really a problem or not. And when I pushed the discussion and when I asked, okay, but how is this and how is that, then we came to the conclusion. And in this case, to give a detail, the customer at the moment is having a sun-based backup restore, and the provider, where the data center is going to, has a host-based. But they've got really different kind of platforms. So when you really want to have your point-in-time backup, and you go from sun-based to a host-based, that's really difficult, because then you don't have these Linux and Unix and Windows and SAP synchronized backup anymore. And I agree with you, Eric, when you say that's something that shouldn't be discussed with the end users or what have you. But I think that it's really an important issue to try and identify what's especially and that's really a technical issue. And that's also why I just mentioned
a layered story. But I think it's even internal crowd, and I think we're running out of time here, but even for the internal crowd or for the testers who will want to know the detail, they first need to have a simplistic view at a high level that they can attach to and say, yeah, I understand why it's really important I'm doing this. I understand the value we're providing. I understand what's changing in the world of cloud at that level, so not at the technology level. And then the next layer in, you can talk about, well, where are specifically the issues? And then at the deepest level, you can talk about, well, if your backup changes into a cloud situation, it becomes very hard to move in time. If you say, well, we had been hacked a week ago, we'd like to roll everything back to a week ago. Sorry, can't be done anymore. Okay, that's a business decision then. Then suddenly you say we now have a business risk that needs to be addressed at a different level. All right.
I agree with you that in 17 types, that's really way too much detail for this, for an initial discussion with all people involved on, okay, what are cloud risks and what should you focus your testing on? That's clear, yeah.
All right, one more thing. If you could ask a question to SogetiLabs members about this story, what would be your question and how can they give the answer to you?
Well, I think the question would be exactly what you're just mentioning. That's what are the specific cloud issues that we need to be aware of and that needs to come back in a test strategy or something that you can say, okay, this is really your main point. Is it security? Is it performance? And why is it then? And so that we from our testing community can explain and can have this discussion. Okay, these are the things we really need to focus on when you're moving into the cloud or when you have a cloud-enabled application. These are the things that need to be addressed, other than functionality as it's been for 10 or 20 years, the main issue. That has shifted. Okay, what are the things that we really need to focus on now?
Okay, and how would you like to have this interaction? Do you want that in email or TeamPark, or do you set up a specific call about this, or how do you like to do that?
Well, let's start with email. To be honest, I really didn't think about it, how to use the SogetiLabs further on this one. I think in the end we'll need to have some kind of TeamPark page on this topic, and that's not just for SogetiLabs, but it's for Sogeti or even bigger than Sogeti. But let's start with these with emails, and then I'll have this presentation and a white paper, and then at some point we'll share our knowledge and our insights differently, because then email isn't really the best way to do it.
So anybody on the phone or who is watching this recording, send an email to Ben directly. If you make very relevant and important remarks, you may just become one of the authors of the next Team Cloud. And then let's help Ben move this story up to the next level. And then I think we're ready for presenter number 2 here. Doug, are you still with us? Maybe it's an interesting time to switch on your video. Ben, thank you very much for doing this presentation. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
I hope we can continue the conversation, because I think it's quick, and I think with our standing in the testing community, being a leader in this space would be very interesting. And Lucille, I think Lucille is going to do the short intro for Doug. Am I right there?
Yeah.
So Lucille, if you have a camera, I don't know if she has a camera. Anyway, I will hand it over to Lucille, either with or without camera,
Hey.
and then we'll hear from Dak.
Can you hear me or not?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, but you said that Charlie would do the introduction yesterday. Charlie?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I can. Sorry, I'm here. Yes, thank you, Ben, and welcome Dak for the second part of this webinar. So Dak, we have been working with you, especially Eric and Lucille, on a new project that we want to kick off, that we started to discuss during the last workshop in the Fontaine, which is about innovation. And we want SogetiLabs, as you know, to be the place where innovation happens in Sogeti. And this is where you come, Dak, because in Sweden, where you're based, you have a client that approached you with a very specific demand, and now you would like to share that project with us and see how SogetiLabs people can help you. So this is what you're going to talk about, and I'll give you the floor now.
Yeah. Okay. So here everyone. I will start with the background. I had a meeting with the customer who is FCIAC. I did a general Internet of Things presentation for them 18th of February this year, and it went out well because a few weeks after they come back and ask me for an opportunity about the Volvo Ocean Race. So we also had a meeting at the 3rd of March, discussed a little bit more on the prerequisites about the case. So I also sent the question to Eric and a few others on SogetiLabs, and now we're here. And we will have a meeting tomorrow again with the team, the core team and the CEO, and also the doctor on the sales boats, and we will have the information about budgets and things like that. So I don't know if you know about the race, but it's a huge race, and it will start in Alicante in Spain, and it will hopefully you can ride on 9th of June, sometime in June. I don't know if it will be this specific date, but hopefully. Gothenburg, land. FCIAC team. It's an all-female team, so they will be really interesting. I don't know if they had an all-female team before. I'm not sure about the history of the ocean race. It will be 9 sailors on the boat, and it will be the best sales ladies in the world. Countries, United States, Netherlands, Britain, Australia, and Switzerland. This is my own experience. I have a lot of experience in sailing, and it's my daughter on the right side. It was just a funny slide there, but I don't follow with the customer. If you need more information about the Volvo Ocean Race or the Team SEO, you have a few links here on Twitter as well. You can look further after. And the SCA is a huge customer, a global customer, a company. They are already developed things in the Internet of Things area. They have developed a smart diaper. You can find it on Google, I think. It's a little smart technology used in the future, I guess. I can also see the orders for the customer. I think you're familiar with some of them at least. And if you have kids, you surely have tested some of them. Okay, so the challenge and what we have been asked is that they asked us to do something in the Internet of Things area that they can use for marketing of the race of the boat. So, and we don't have so much input, but they want to use something that could be unique for them, unique as a team. So people get interest about this. So let us use our brains, united brains, to give them some ideas that we can transform into client projects. And we don't know the budget yet. We will have that information tomorrow. But I know they spend a lot of money in this race. You can look at the main site from FCIAC. You see they marketing a lot of and talk a lot about the race already. And some of the requirements, we have discussed it a little bit with the customer, and I don't think it will work with things like glasses all the time, at least. Maybe for instructions, but the team will be very focused on the race, and they will have very difficult circumstances sometimes with the weather. It's wet, and I mean, if you have been on a sailboat on a race, the engine will be almost in the water sometimes. So you have, it's very tough sometimes, and water everywhere. So it's a little bit of challenge. The boat will not be online all the time. That could be a good information for you. And some ideas we have discussed already. Maybe some health status for crew and team leader. All the crews are very interested in to get all the information they can about their health and wind and pressure and air pressure, everything they can. So because they are so focused on the race. And we also discussed some maybe exploded view of the engine if they need to fix something, or instruction for freshwater systems, because it's very, very important for them. Without it, they will not be able to continue the race. So it needs to work all the time. We discussed also like wearable things like watches or health monitors, blood pressure, ECG, etc. Also some kind of team communication. So for the process and timeline, we will have the next meeting tomorrow, already mentioned about. And what we have done is to put a blog in the public SogetiLabs community, and it will be there open until 28th of March, so you can submit your IDs there, so it will be the only communication point this time. Then we will put this idea to the client, and hopefully we will end up in a project, and that project will then start, I guess, in the mid of April or end of April. And at summertime we need to have some testing, July to August. Just a funny thing about, I mean, it should be great to do some real live testing there together with the team. I can be, I can do it. And then we need to deliver in September, I guess, 1 month before the race. like that timeline. So, come on, are we a SogetiLabs team or not?
I think we are.
Great.
Unmute, Charlie, unmute.
Yeah, I guess it's better like this.
Much better.
Thank you, Dag. I hope you heard everything, because I know the connection sometimes is not very good. Anyway, don't worry. First of all, the webinar is recorded, and second, Lucille already created a blog post in the TeamPark community where you have all the details that Dag just explained with the slides, so no worries, all the details are there. So now what's the next step? So you understood that Dag's client needs you to come up with innovative ideas about Internet of Things and how to help those teams to sell and to go all around the globe. So what can we do for them? And we need your ideas. We need your ideas, and we have exactly 15 days. 16 actually. 16, that's still one more, to submit our ideas. So how are we going to do that? Well, we have TeamPark, we have our community, we have the ideation blog. So we have all the tools we need. We only need your bright ideas. Lucille, I know you're here, and I know that you will support that technically with Dag and with Eric. So I'm really, I hope that it will work. You have the public community. That's the only one we're using at the moment. So forget about the private one. We make everything public. So we will send you the link. Lucille will handle that, and you will have all the tools ready. Anything to add, Dag or Eric?
I think this is a great opportunity. I think we are a team of people with great ideas and creativity. I already see things coming in through chat. So if we can really do this conversation online and have a lot of interaction, there's a real customer. We could really do this. It would be great both for Volvo, Ocean Race to see that, and for us to have been part of that. If only having the conversation is already fun, but let's aim to really come up with an idea that helps them basically win the race. Then at the end of the year, we will really have a SogetiLabs celebration if we can sort of race this race with them and say, hey, we helped win that, or be a part of that, or be part of the fun part of that. This is really the first time of many we want to do this. So also on the process, you are the owners of SogetiLabs, so be engaged and help improve. If you say, well, we should do it in this tool, or we should pull in other people, feel free to do so. I would say part of your mentoring conversations as well. When you meet your mentees or you meet your mentor, just have a conversation. Just talk about this challenge and say, hey, what do you think? Do you have ideas? Have you thought about this? To see if you can come up with more ideas. I think through dialogue you get better ideas. So Dag, this is a great opportunity. Hope we can deliver as a team, and I trust we will.
Yeah, sure. Great.
Well, that's great. It's 3 to 6. We will make it on time, as promised. Thank you, everyone, first of all, for joining this second webinar. As you know, it was recorded, so it will be sent to everyone.
Don't close just yet. I have two remarks. One is business technology outlook.
Okay.
I know a lot of teams are very busy, very active. Some teams may not be very active. So if you're part of one team that is not very active, again, you are the owners of this. So I suggest you take action. If anybody needs my help, both in content or process or getting forward, feel free to contact me. I have had a couple of calls with people who were wanting to know more, so I'm very available to do that. So that's my one remark. I see very good conversation with good content, so I'm very optimistic that we'll get some very nice scenarios. The second part is the member process. As we start to become more mature, we add more members. Please take your responsibility there. We are the ones who need to make sure that people that join SogetiLabs are worthy of joining SogetiLabs. That's a pretty soft measure, but keep track of who is joining. If you have objections or you are not convinced based on the descriptions, ask questions as well, so that we kind of prevent a situation where a year from now we have a SogetiLabs meeting and you meet people where you think, I don't think these people should be part of SogetiLabs. Or the other way around, if there are people in your surrounding who you think that really should be part of SogetiLabs, please suggest them and make them part of this community so that we can engage them and get them involved in these processes. So these would be my 2 comments, and any other ideas and comments, feel free to contact us directly or through Teamwork.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. So it's time to close now. Thank you very much for joining. We'll see you in 1 month. Next webinar is on April 9. Until then, we still have a lot to do. First of all, the technology outlook. So please, everyone, keep focused, and I'll see you in 1 month. Goodbye, everyone.